Jeffrey Dahmer versus Jack the Ripper. Who is the most evil? Who is the most deadly? The scariest? The most vicious? I've seen the analytics. You love the Jeffrey Dahmer video and you're definitely going to love this one. This is going to be a 4-round bout of pure twistedness and savagery. First, let's briefly introduce our contenders. Out of the red corner, from Ohio, with a body count of 17, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer. And in the blue corner, from London, with a known body count of 5, also referred to as the Canonical 5, known as the Leather Harpoon, Whitechapel's murderer, a 3 years reign of terror, Jack the Ripper. Who would win? Who will be the most twisted and the most evil? In order to determine that, we need to find points of comparison. So round 1 will be the round of the body counts. Jeffrey Dahmer has 17 bodies under his belts. Those include the murder by strangulation of the 18-year-old Mark Hitz in 1978, alleged murder of an army colleague during his service from 1979 to 1981, the murder of 17-year-old Curtis Durrell in 1991. In that same year, the murder of 19-year-old Harold Linsley, who was the first victim on whom he would use his drilling techniques. The murder of the 14-year-old Konirak Sinta, I butchered the spelling, I know, who's got injected with acid in the brain by Jeffrey Dahmer. Those are just a few of his murder list, but you get the idea. He's got a really high body count. The man is really twisted. Now, how does that fare with Jack the Ripper? Murder of Mary Ann Nicole in August 1888. When her body was found, her throat was severed. She had 2 stab wounds on her private parts, and her lower abdomen was partially removed. Murder of Annie Chapman in September 1888. The body was found at the doorstep of her backyard. The throat was severed, the abdomen was entirely ripped open, and parts of her stomach found themselves on her shoulders. Murder of Elizabeth Strides and Catherine Edowis. You know what I'm trying to say. In late September 1888, Elizabeth Strides' body was found with her throat severed from ear to ear. Catherine's body was found with her throat severed from ear to ear, and her uterus was removed. The murder of Mary Jane Kelly in November 1888. The body was found with her face hacked off. Most of her organs had been removed from the abdomen. Her kidney, uterus, and one of her breasts were placed beneath her head. These 5 women constitute the Canonical 5. In terms of body count, the wrong clearly goes to Jeffrey, who has 17 confirmed victims. Now, it could be argued that Jack had much more victims who never got traced back to him. However, we got to stick to the facts. One thing that Jeffrey and Jack had in common, though, was their level of cruelty. So round 2 will focus on who is the most cruel of the 2. In my opinion, round 2 was the closest. Even the research felt like torture, but eventually I noticed patterns in each man's way of killing. And while both ways are absolutely disgusting, it came down to the terms that were used for each man's murder. You see, Jack had a thing for disemboweling, which is basically removing the organs from the gastrointestinal tracts. I'm not gonna go into the terminology because I might throw up. Jack also had a thing for stabbing genital parts, which is quite disturbing. The autopsy will reveal that most of the mutilations inflicted by Jack were done after the victim had died. They knew this due to the lack of blood that spilled on the scene. So how does that fare with Jeffrey Dahmer, you say? Oh God. You see, Jeffrey not only practiced disembowelment, he took it a step further. He will keep the organs in his refrigerator. For what reason, you say? Oh, you will find out. Don't worry. He will also dismember his victims, cutting them in pieces. Sometimes he will put whole bodies into acid just to keep the bones. Sexual acts on his dead victims, including masturbating and having actual intercourse with dead bodies. Doing live experiment on his victims while they were still alive. At least Jack had the decency to kill them first. And oh, remember how he kept the organs in the fridge? It wasn't just for conservation purposes. Let that sink in. So if you haven't figured out yet, the second round goes to the Milwaukee Cannibal. Round 3. Round 3 will be based on physical strength. All of Dahmer's victims were men. And on top of that, he received military training. Also, it is good to note that Dahmer's victims will often fight back. Now let's look at Jack. We virtually don't know anything about the man. All we know is that all of his victims were women. Round 3 goes to Dahmer by default and lack of information. Round 4 and final one, getting caught. Now you know I had to give Jack one, otherwise it wouldn't be a fair fight. Jack never got caught. Was it due to the lack of technology at the time? Most likely. However, the facts remain, he never got caught. So round 4 goes to Jack the Ripper. Before making this video, I thought that it would be a close one. But the more research I did, the more I realized how much more twisted Dahmer was on almost every level. And he clearly won this bout. Anyways guys, do you agree with me or do you think Jack should have won this bout? Let me know in the comment section. Also go watch my other videos, they're awesome, trust me. Make sure you like, subscribe and share.